Today's show is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Change the location of your IP address and bypass region locks at expressvpn.com/inside.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Inside Gaming Daily for Friday!
Yeah!
We can't do just that. Yeah!
Yes! Yes!
Who's got cool weekend plans? What are you getting up to?
I'm watching the Tiger Dude documentary and drinking a dozen beers every day.
Nice.
Oh, I'm drinking a handle of vodka in my bathtub, and then I'm gonna accidentally FaceTime my ex.
Oh, hell yeah, baby.
Who is Joe Exotic?
Haha, I knew it.
I'm probably gonna stand on my balcony and just look. It's no secret that lots of games are getting delayed these days. Hell, life is pretty much delayed because of the coronavirus. It's not pretty much delayed, it's just done.
We had a good run, humanity. We're done.
I don't think we had a very good run. And now one of the biggest releases of the year has been pushed back, probably by a lot, and more are probably on the way.
Yeah, this year could be a giant catastrophe for the video game calendar, with a lot of big AAA releases getting pushed back to just whenever.
But first, let's talk about the big delay that was announced this week, and then we'll look to the future.
Boys, bad news. Marvel's Ironman VR is delayed indefinitely.
Oh,
God, all right, just kidding. Haha, psych. Well, it is delayed, and we are devastated about it. But we're talking about The Last of Us 2, the sequel to one of the best games ever made. It's been highly anticipated for a long time. You better wait, though, because it's not coming out soon.
That's Joel's famous line from The Last of Us 1. You better wait,
No, I didn't kill anybody, Ellie. I just got you out of that hospital.
You moron. And after a lot of delays, it was supposed to come out next month, but now we don't know when the hell it'll come out. Sony announced that they have made the difficult decision to delay the launch of The Last of Us 2 and Marvel's Iron Man VR until further notice. Logistically, the global crisis is preventing us from providing the launch experience our players deserve.
So, is the game done, and this is just a delay because they didn't have time for a full marketing campaign? Well, Naughty Dog released its own statement, shedding a little more light on the situation. They said they're nearly done with development of the game, and that they're in the midst of fixing our final bugs.
We haven't crunched our employees enough. They still need another 6 months of 18-hour days.
A little more blood in those stones.
They added, though, that even though the game is almost done, quote, we were faced with the reality that due to logistics beyond our control, we cannot launch The Last of Us Part 2 to our satisfaction.
They went on to say, we want to make sure that everyone gets to play The Last of Us Part 2 around the same time, ensuring that we're doing everything possible to preserve the best experience for everyone. This meant delaying the game until such a time when we can solve these logistic issues.
So what does that mean?
I don't know, Patrick.
I mean, they keep mentioning logistics, so that could be an indication that the whole machinery of releasing a game has been shut down.
Ellie, the whole machinery's been shut down. I didn't shoot anybody. We just can't release it right now.
Ellie, the deep state is against us, and there is a machinery of cogs behind the scenes run by the globalists.
I got the documents right here, Infowars.com. So yeah, this isn't just a digital release to rush out. This is one of the biggest games of this generation, so we gotta have a big splash, baby. There's gonna be physical releases around the world. Obviously, it means they need to be physically produced somewhere, which means you need people. Currently, though, around half of the world is under lockdown orders, so all of that is impossible. Most businesses that aren't essential are completely shut down.
Yeah, whatever factory makes the clicker statues is at a complete halt right now.
Your Last of Us canvas backpack can't be produced right now.
And while we love video games, they aren't essential, unlike groceries and firearms. So pretty much the only company that feels like that is GameStop, and they are officially the worst.
So what are some more reasons this game hasn't been released? Well, we'll get into that in a moment, but first, hey, we'd like to talk to you guys about a new Rooster Teeth show coming out on 420. Baby! Let's chat about Last Laugh. Yeah! Today, we're telling you about a new Rooster Teeth show dropping on 420. Uh-oh. That's the weed day. It is called Last Laugh, and it premieres on roosterteeth.com, yes, on 420. In a world where laughter is forbidden and one smile can spell certain doom, Funhouse, Achievement Hunter, and Rooster Teeth are sending their top comedians into the ultimate comedic showdown. Trapped together and armed with only a duffel bag of props and their own wit, the challengers compete to make each other laugh first. There's no escape from sabotage, subterfuge, and let's face it, slapstick. Host Jeff Ramsey makes sure that not one chortle goes unnoticed as competitors are eliminated one by one until only the funniest remains. He who laughs last wins cash and bragging rights. So who will break first and who will get the last laugh? That's the name of the show. part social experiment, part game show. Watch Last Laugh on 420 on roosterteeth.com exclusively for first members. My roommate is John Smith from Funhouse, and he was telling me about all the gags that he was going to let loose on this room of peers, and they were pretty funny, so I'm excited to watch it. I hope you do too. Again, that is Last Laugh appearing on 420 on roosterteeth.com. That's funny because like weed is Last Laugh, roosterteeth.com. Back to the show.
Are you guys worried about the releases for real this year?
I think everything's going to get pushed back, and I think that sucks.
Yeah, you should be worried because I'm about to release these nuts into your mouth.
I don't know, Brian. I feel like it should be like hallowed ground to not use the story as your own setup.
It's cheap, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
Fighting dirty.
Absolutely. I'm 40. I gotta throw sand in your eyes, so then I can punch you in the face. You guys are younger and faster than me.
I'll climb on your back and scratch your eyes out like a chimp.
And I'll play a grating tune from the corner.
Connor can release a tone.
Connor will pan flute me to death.
So on top of everything we've discussed before, with a big AAA release like Last of Us 2, there are a million factors to consider. There's probably a huge marketing campaign planned, like we said, which costs a ton of money and coordination, and it involves lots of people.
And none of that is currently possible. Yeah, they could push it out digitally if they wanted to be a bunch of losers, but obviously they made the call that it's just better to wait and hold off.
Meanwhile, it's also worth noting that Naughty Dog was in the news just a few weeks ago for all the wrong reasons. It was for working their employees to death. Okay, we're being hyperbolic, but just a smidge. Kotaku had a story about employees at Naughty Dog working 12-hour days and even weekends when they're in crunch mode.
Which is a lot, and while the crunch isn't overtly mandatory, Kotaku said that for most of the staff, there is an unspoken social pressure to stick around. I mean, yeah, obviously. You don't want to be the guy who leaves first and screws everyone else over.
I will totally be that person, like, it's 5 o'clock, I'm leaving. But yeah, that's also led to the studio losing a ton of veteran talent, which basically means this is all unsustainable because people are going to leave. But they've had to replace them with a bunch of junior level staffers, which means that development is going to take longer because they've had to train up the young kids and get them up to speed. It just takes a lot longer.
Yeah, former employee, the animator Jonathan Cooper, who worked on The Last of Us 2 and Uncharted 4, shared his story. He said he wasn't personally subjected to crunch, but he said that Naughty Dog's reputation for crunch within LA is so bad, it was near impossible to hire seasoned contract game animators to close out the project.
Sounds like after this, nobody wants to hang with Mr. Cooper, if you know what I'm saying.
Like the show.
There was a show called Hangin' with Mr. Cooper.
I don't think so.
He also claimed that Naughty Dog's practices are kind of enabled by Sony and their deep pockets, adding that a more senior team would have shipped The Last of Us 2 a year ago, which that whole thing caused big waves and once again reignited discussions of the industry's labor practices, how it might not be sustainable in the long run.
So yeah, maybe Naughty Dog just didn't want to release a game so close to all that negative press, or, and this is a bit conspiratorial, but that's never stopped me before, maybe the game just isn't as close to being done as they're acting like, and they're using the coronavirus as cover to give themselves more time. Just saying, just throwing that out there.
That was my initial thought for sure,
Yeah.
was like, the game just isn't done and it's super hard. But I mean, they probably have already invested so much money.
Regardless of the reason, there's no doubt that the worldwide pandemic, you may have heard of it, has caused major disruptions in the video game industry, just like every other industry. And you have to assume, you simply must, it is imperative that you assume more delays like this are coming.
Yeah, in the immediate future, what about Ghost of Tsushima? It's not as big as Last of Us 2, but boys, it's still a big AAA release. It's due out in June. You'd assume a lot of those same logistical issues that forced Last of Us 2 to be delayed would apply to Ghost of Tsushima as well. There are already stories being written, wondering if it's going to be next on the chopping block. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Bro, yeah, it is.
Oh, but it could get worse. So much worse. Because further down the calendar, Marvel's Avengers from Square Enix is due in September.
Well, I could live with that if that's the only delay.
It's fine.
Well, hang on a minute. And another major release. You heard of this one? Cyberpunk 2077? Huh?
You hear about this?
Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
It's already been delayed repeatedly. It's currently due out in September too, which is about 6 months away. Have you read about this?
Uh-oh, should I react? Oh, no! That is a bummer. I'm really looking forward to that game.
I know.
But again, you've got to assume that the current lockdown that most of us are under is affecting development right around the time when they'd normally be working the hardest. And then Halo Infinite is supposed to release this holiday. It could absolutely get delayed.
So yeah, this whole thing could just clear the game gaming calendar of most major releases.
Yeah.
The Last of Us 2 could be the first in a whole series of dominoes.
And what about the next-gen consoles that are allegedly due out this holiday season? You can't release a console digitally. They require a huge amount of production and logistics, and right now is the time of year when they'd be ramping up production.
Yeah, some analysts have anticipated they'll be delayed until next year, or that supplies will be really low this holiday season. But for now, the console makers are saying everything's fine. Cue the dog in the house on fire meme. Everything's fine. Last week, a Sony spokesperson told Bloomberg the pandemic would not impact the launch of the PlayStation 5 this year. No way, no how. I think the games that are out, enjoy them because you might be playing them for a while.
Yeah, it's a very good time to dip into that back catalog.
Maybe everyone can play Prey. We can all talk about it.
That's good.
I'll get right on that.
Thank you.
I actually have it. Maybe I will play that.
Let's talk about a virus that's killed hundreds of people. More importantly, let's talk about how it'll affect our video games.
Oh no, this is...
You've gone too far this time, coronavirus. This time, it's your life.
You just look like a weeb Jason Mraz.
We can have full Medicare in this country.
Yeah, I hope you liked that